you would say something to make me change my mind. Got me feeling like somebody else. I've been so patient with you, but you won't act right. And I'm tired of sleeping by myself. What is we on? Something is wrong. Show me you want me to. Checking my phone every 10 minutes, thinking it's gonna be you. I just wanna fix this, but you don't wanna try. If you don't wanna be, why you always on my line? Putting your peace over mine. Meet me in the middle. Touch and go.
Yes, guys, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. This is Self-Care Wednesdays. Yes, it is, guys. I'm back. Just like I told you guys, I will be back with my Self-Care Wednesdays. Thank you all for tuning in with me. I appreciate you all for listening. Yes, today's topic we're going to be talking about today is what happens to your body when you go too long without the human touch. You know, what happens? You know? No, we can't go too long without a human touch, but, you know, some can. Some like to be alone, you know, like myself. I am an introvert. You know, I like to be alone most of the time, but, you know, there's times that you do miss that interaction. So what do we do about it? You know? So I'm going to be talking about this today on my Self-Care Wednesdays today, guys. And, you know, I appreciate you all for tuning in. This is the Creative Lips Podcast, and I am your host, Regina. And this is episode number 56. And, you know, I really appreciate you all for tuning in this Self-Care Wednesdays. You know, so I just wanted to just give, you know, just a quick disclaimer, you know, just a quick disclaimer before I start my episode on my Self-Care Wednesdays. I just basically like to just give, you know, self-disclaimer just to let you all know that I am not, no way, no shape, or no form, a licensed psychologist or a licensed therapist. Yes, guys. So I just wanted to let you all know that any, you know, self-help tips or any type of information or anything that I talk about when it comes to mental health or, you know, anything in that sort is just strictly from off of my own experience and, you know, things that I've been through and my research, you know, for me to, you know, talk about this. So I just wanted to just say that before I start talking on, you know, this topic on my Self-Care Wednesdays, guys. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And as always, before I start my episodes, I always like to give self-affirmations. Yes, just self-affirmations of, you know, positive words, you know, of encouragement, because, you know, once again, we are still in this pandemic. Yes, we are. We are still in it, guys. And I just like to say that whoever is listening to this episode today on my Self-Care Wednesdays, whoever is listening to this, only you know what you are going through. Only you know what obstacles that is faced before you. Only you know what it is. I hope and pray that whatever it is that you're trying to get out of, that you're trying to start, you know, or, you know, that you're trying to do, I hope that it works out for you. I hope that it happens for you. I hope that it stops. You know, I hope that you get out of it. You know, I hope that whatever it is that only you know what is faced before you. I hope and pray that it works out in your favor in the end. In the end, guys. Yes, in the end. Yes, all right, guys. So now let's get into it. Let's talk about this topic today. So now what happens to your body when you go too long without that human touch. Some of us crave it. Even though I am an introverted person, I am an introvert. Yes, I am. And I can be shy sometimes. But however, once you get to know me and once I get to know you, I am so outgoing and, very talkative for the most part. And I'm a touchy-feely person. So that's how I am once I feel comfortable with you and once I get to know you. And, I can honestly say now, remember hugging your friends. Remember, before this pandemic, remember just hugging your friends or your loved ones, like your mother or father that's, not home with you, or anyone that is not with you. Remember hugging them. And also remember shaking hands. Even going to these job interviews and stuff like that, people are going out. You can't even do that anymore. You can't even shake a hand with people at work, and even also too, kissing at the end of an amazing day, guys. You know what I'm saying? Some still do it. You know what I'm saying? Because if that date is amazing, some gonna go for, some gonna go for it all. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's good, and if you're feeling that person like that, you're gonna go for it. Me too. I miss those things, and some of them sort of. Let's say sort of, because some people, I don't care to hug and I don't care to shake your hand. You know what I'm saying?
So fucking
I don't. Sorry, I don't. But however, now that's been months. It's been months since that social distancing has been put into place. And it has begun due to, coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic. And all those options are now off the table. A physical sense of loneliness is definitely, it definitely may set in. We may start to feel that sense of loneliness, for some of us. Some may, some might. But for those who will feel it, what happens without their personal human touch? What do we do? What happens to our physical being, our physical body, when we go too long without having it? What are the effects that happens to us when we go without it? So I'm going to talk about that today. So this is what I want you all to do. Just think about it for just a moment. The number of people you may come into contact with during a normal day, regardless of, your geographic location or where you live, it could just be brushing by someone in the hallway of your apartment building if you live in an apartment complex, or just brushing past somebody, when you're walking down the street for your morning walk, when you're just out and about running your errands, or, going, shopping in a store. Even though we have this social distancing, it is going to be a chance that you're going to brush, across somebody, brushing past somebody, in your normal day-to-day routine. It could be accidentally, just like I said, bumping into a passerby, doing, your subway commute if you ride public transportation, or, just like I said, out and about, exchanging smiles and words with your favorite, with your favorite person that you go see in the morning. You go get your coffee or you go get whatever, at a local coffee shop. And then, you brush your fingers against that, person that, you hand your money to or your card to, and, your fingers, may touch the drink. You touch the drink at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And, that's a human touch. And, some people may, get excited, you know what I'm saying? Just some people in general, because they have went so long without having that, human touch. And, I can speak for the ones, I guess I can just speak for the ones who are single, or for the ones who are living at home alone, or, or for the ones who, just there, by themselves, living the day in out, throughout this quarantine, still, and throughout this pandemic, this social distancing time, and, hugging a friend, let's get back into that. Hugging a friend, and you miss that, especially if that friend is sharing some good news, we miss all of those things. While it doesn't seem like it should be a big deal, going without human touch for too long can have an impact on your overall well-being. Everyone's different in terms of how much physical contact they need to feel good. But generally, after several months, this side effect of going without it will begin to feel intense for some, and some perhaps overwhelming, Yes, it can get overwhelming for some. But before, we dive into, what it is, good for us, the good benefits of it, I want to let's start off by talking about the side effects. I want to start off by talking about that. Now, there is all the good juju, all the good juju juice surrounding having that good, positive human touch, but there are side effects, the side effects of going without it. The first side effects, it could be, you might feel down, for some. I noticed that, during my, my time of being, by myself on my own, because I was recently divorced. And it's been like, I would say a whole 2 years. I would say a whole 2 years, not, having that, interaction with someone. So I can honestly say, if you have felt particularly down in the dumps during quarantine, like as in myself, even before and then now this quarantine, the lack of touch may be the one of the reasons why. Physical touch provides regular boost of important neurochemicals to your brain, like serotonin, dopamine, and without it, you're simply more susceptible to depressive episodes. Now that places, are starting to open up, we can probably, if we have the coin to do it, what I'm saying, we can book a massage, by a licensed masseuse. And, because they are properly trained in practicing the epidemic safety, safety standards and precautions. Or you can also find a friend, if you have a good friend that also can practice some of those precautions, such as, you both wearing a mask and, and the massager, your friend, wears the gloves while they massage you, and if you can get that to happen for you, that I'm telling you, that would be wonders. That would be wonders for you if you can get that to happen for you. Your stress levels can go up, if you can get that to happen. But if not, there are countless reasons, to feel stressed right now. because social isolation definitely, of course, isn't helping everyone, and when you go without the usual interactions like hugging, cuddling, and of course kissing, etc., your brain also starts to release more of those stress hormones. As time goes on, you don't receive physical touch to relieve it. You will start to feel wound up, you will get pretty wound up, man, and this is because there is no release of that feel good. We need that feel good. Those, just like I said earlier, those neurochemicals to the brain, to stop or slow down the production of all of those stress hormones, because this can result into more anxiety and worry. Yes, it can. Some more recommendations, can be to cuddle with a pet. You can get a pet if you got the coin, and also if you're not allergic to pets. Stimulation does not have to come from just a human. It doesn't have to always come from a person, to be a beneficial form of a release of positive chemicals to your brain. In fact, the Center for Disease and Control, CDC, explains that having a strong bond with your pet can decrease feelings of loneliness, cholesterol levels, and blood pressure. You could experience withdrawal-like symptoms if you're someone who likes to be touched. I like to be touched. There are a lot of people who like to be touched. Just like I said, I'm the type of person, if you get to know me and you feel, I feel comfortable with you, I'm a touchy-feely person. I like to shake your hand, you know what I'm saying? And, I'm a hugger. I like to hug, you know what I'm saying? That's just me. And, you also might notice that you experience actual, those withdrawal symptoms can be to the 10th power, to the 10th power, just like I said, resulting into that, anxiety and worrisome. You could be worrying for no reason, I just feel as though that, if you may find that your body craves and reacts strongly, even to just the slightest accidental touch, then it could be, very crazy for some right now who craves that right now, And, just like I said earlier, you go to your favorite, coffee place or place where you get your stuff, your breakfast in the morning, and your hand just brushes up against, that, person who's making your coffee. That could be really intense for you. You can feel an extra intense mode in you, like, damn, you know what I'm saying? For some. Now, that's just for some. But as a side note, if touch is one of your top love languages, then you'll be surprised if it feels like your relationship is falling apart. Your life is falling apart because that's something that you feel as though that, is missing. It's a major part that's missing in your life, even if it isn't. As you go on without an in-person contact with your partner or, your loved ones, your friends, your family, your coworkers, or whatever it may be, whoever it may be, if the two of you don't even live under the same roof, it doesn't matter. Mentally, you can actually feel less loved and cared for some. And of course, even without all these potential side effects, it's still best to continue, with the social distancing at this time, because of this pandemic and COVID, if we can try to do that, try our best to do that, but if you can't, you can try some of those methods. by trying to cope with it, so keep doing, the best that you can do. Try to do the best that you can do on a daily basis to try to have, those interactions that you need, to have that human touch, on your own, so now let's get back into the good juju juice of, having that human, touch, and, some of the things that we can do if we can't get to that human touch right away. There's a lot of options out there that we can do, of course, during this pandemic, since we are socially distancing, like I said. And also if you can't do all those other options that I stated, like far as, getting a masseuse or getting your friend to massage you or even getting a pet, there's daily exercise. You can also have a daily exercise routine to burn off of course, the calories, and also it helps raises your level too, again, of your blood pressure, and it also makes you overall feel good and well-being, if you have a daily routine, of exercise, and even yoga too as well. If you can probably incorporate that in your daily routine of exercising. And also meditation can definitely boost and help your mind, body, soul. It's very good. That's something that I do on a daily basis. Even, now that I'm out and about too as well, I take time to have a meditation on a daily basis. I don't care where I'm at. I try my best to have a meditation for myself. That is a definite for me, and it helps me. It really helps me a whole lot, with not having, an interaction with having that human and personal touch. And also walking can also help to increase the serotonin in your brain too as well, which means you will feel more positive. You will feel good, And of course, it says various small studies have found that in couples, non-sexual caring touch has been linked with higher levels of feel-good hormone. And of course, it lowers, again, your blood pressure, And in this, in this crazy, pandemic that we're going through, it could be, relevant. And of course, and right now it is needed, with everything that is going on in the world today, especially with Black and brown people. It is very good to do those practices. At least try to incorporate some of those practices in your daily life. It's very good to do that. At least try. And because, again, that touch may have a beneficial effect on your immune system too as well, especially with this COVID, and also changing your diet too as well and eating healthy. That can also be a beneficial, effect on, not having, the human touch as well, by eating right and treating your body right. And loving your temple, loving your body, and sticking to this routine, even when you have nowhere to go. Like for some who are at home, who are looking for work right now, try to have a routine on a daily basis. And, once you do this, it can also keep you in a good mental space. Yes, it can. If you incorporate those those things in your daily life, and beyond that, this is what I love to do. I love doing this. And this is very funny to me because my children are older, and I know sometimes they hear me in my room. I just be laughing so loud now. And when I laugh, okay? I laugh. I laugh with my whole heart and being. I do. And, and beyond that, a good thing to do is, watching comedies. Watching comedies to boost your mood, as well as looking for other fun outlets. Other fun outlets can do that. Definitely. It can definitely do that. And also like talking to your friends in Zoom, or, FaceTiming your friends, on Instagram. You don't even have to have an iPhone to FaceTime your friends. You can FaceTime your friends on Instagram if you have an Instagram account. It's a lot of things that you can do. And if possible, taking advantage of any forms of touch you can get. Somebody that's genuine and somebody that you trust. You know what I'm saying? You can give you a long hug or whatever. Come here, friend. You know what I'm saying? And just like I said, everything helps. Everything helps. Every little bit helps. And I think that is best for us to try to incorporate that in our daily routine. It is best to do that, and if we do that on a daily basis, it's just like I said again, it can be good enough to help our mental and physical health. Yes, it can. All right, guys. Yes, I thank you all for tuning in with me for this Self-Care Wednesdays. And, just like I said, if you keep doing your thing, you know what I'm saying? Keep doing your thing on your own. And, follow some of these, steps that I mentioned in my Self-Care Wednesdays. You'll feel a bit better, until you snag that next hug. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys. I hope that you enjoyed my episode, and I appreciate you all for supporting, all of my episodes, even my Self-Care Wednesdays, guys. And I hope that this episode makes you guys feel better, and I hope that anyone who's listening to this, I hope this helps them, because, a lot of people are going through a lot right now. And, with this pandemic, with, just everything that's going on in this world, I'm giving you all a virtual hug right now. Right now, I'm giving you all my virtual hug. All right, guys. So make sure you follow me on all of my social media. Follow me on Creative Lips Podcast on Instagram, and also follow me on Twitter at Creative Lips Pod.
I've been in touch with myself.
And guys, don't forget to leave me that 5-star rating, and also leave me a review, guys. Come on, guys, support a sister. And check out my social media too. It's like I said, because you want to know what? I post stuff there too, guys. All right, until next time.
It's been touch and go. It's been round and round. It's been low day low. We've been here before.
I just wanna fix this, but you don't wanna try. If you don't wanna be, why you always on my line? Putting your peace over mine. Leave me in the middle. Touch and go. Oh. Touch and go. I'm too emotional. Touch and go. I'm too emotional.
You are now listening to episode 56 of the Creative Lips Podcast.